You are now watching the Biz to Biz podcast with Alan and Justin.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Justin live from B2B Vault, the Biz to Biz podcast, sponsored by Nationwide Payment Systems, hosted by this guy, the Mario Andretti, a payment processing himself, Alan Kopelman. And in today's podcast, we're finally going to be interviewing a guest. Well, not finally, but
we've had other guests
for
on
the first time this year.
Yes,
that's what I meant.
2024.
For 2024, finally got a guest on the show. Caleb Avery from Tilde Payfac-as-a-service.
Yes.
So this should be good. We met him, I think 2 years ago at the ITS.
No, last year at the SCAA, Southeast Acquirer Show. No, the Southeast Acquirer Show.
Did we see him at another show?
No. We're at the Southeast Acquirer Show at the Diplomat Hotel in Hollywood.
I know that time, but I feel like there was another time.
No.
Well, anyway, his company's located in Colorado. Somewhere, I think Denver.
Well,
that's sure we're gonna have to ask him when we get in there. So yeah, man, looking forward to that. Anyway, how are you doing? Real quick, check in.
Yep, everything's good. You know, a lot of stuff going on in the news. We'll have to see how all kinds of crazy stuff shakes out here with mergers, acquisitions, and in the payments industry. There's a bunch of rumors flying around.
Got it. Well,
so we'll see how that all pans out in the future.
It's a lot to worry about, right?
Yeah, we don't worried about it. Just saying, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of activity.
Indeed, there is.
Yeah, with mergers and acquisitions. So.
Mergers and acquisitions. I was just the way that they make that sound is M&As.
Yeah, M&A.
So jargon.
Yeah, jargon.
We've been talking about that all week.
Yeah. We should do
jargon.
We should do a podcast on industry jargon.
It's just like the gatekeepers make up these words so that, like, if you don't know the meaning of the word, like you know, it's like, for instance, M&As. Like, yeah, we're going to be discussing M&As.
I'll tell you a word that I don't like that I get in emails all the time.
What's that?
They say, the democratization of something. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
I don't even know what that means.
Neither do I.
Democratization?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's like Democrats are
democrating whatever it is that they're doing. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
So much politics.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. Like, the word doesn't make any sense. Like, they're just putting it in there.
It's so like how everyone says they're traumatized.
You have this long $10 word, you know, and you're like, ooh, what's that? Sounds kind of fancy.
It does. Well, I'm good. You know, I'm ready to hop right in here.
Ready to hop in?
Yeah, I think it's more.
All right, hit the button.
Better time now than the present, right?
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's bring in Caleb. Hey, Caleb, you there?
I'm here. Appreciate you guys having me on the show today.
Absolutely, man. How's Caleb doing today, bro?
I'm doing great. I had Benihana for lunch, and I feel like anytime you get a Benihana experience, it's going to be a good day.
Did you go in person, though?
I went in person for the full Benihana, extravaganza. So it was a really nice lunch experience.
The guy made a fire.
He did the onion, volcano choo-choo train. There was no shrimp catching today.
Okay,
very good, my friend.
We avoided
that to other people.
Yeah, we'll leave that to the professionals.
Yeah, exactly. We leave that to professionals.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. Thanks for coming by, dude. Your first guest of 2024. That's that's an accomplishment on its own. Round of applause.
I appreciate the honor. My goal today is to use as much industry jargon as I can. I think that's the name of the game.
Hey, it's so crazy. Like, isn't it like, I feel like the gatekeepers, like, they've made up them words, like, just so that we can, like, be
intimidated.
It makes you feel smart. You're talking about ISOs and ISVs, and people are like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds really cool.
It does, right? It's like when I started talking about SEO and Google Analytics and, GA4, and people are just like,
this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows.
And it is very intimidating, right?
Yeah, you throw out the $10 word and you look smarter.
Indeed.
So where's your company located, Caleb?
So I'm calling in here from the podcast studio in Boulder, Colorado. You guys have a pretty nice setup yourself, but yeah, I'm calling in from Boulder.
I like the sign. I was gonna compliment on the sign.
You got to have a neon sign. You absolutely have to have a neon sign if you're going to do a proper podcast setup. I do need one of those on-air signs though. I feel a little left out.
They're cool, right?
I love it.
It's definitely a good addition to have for the studio. We're missing a plant. You ever seen the podcast Between Two Ferns?
You gotta have a plant. I feel like, today you need to go out and find a plant. That's your mission today.
Just right here, plant.
Okay. Next time I see
Costco.
a plant. Yes.
Costco has the plants out. I heard they
have. Oh yeah, they have a lot of plants
in Florida. Down here in South Florida, Costco. It's like a big thing when Costco puts out their outdoor plants. It's like all you see on Instagram and TikTok is people rushing the store to get their plants.
That and those bamboo tree things.
Oh, yep. The gate, the fence, right?
The bamboo.
Oh no, you're talking about the lucky bamboos.
Yeah, lucky bamboos. I have a big one in my
hot
house.
Commodity. Yeah. Hot commodity. Well, before we hop into all the good stuff, we like to just talk a little bit. It's a conversation. It's not we're not promoting so much. You know what I mean? It's just a conversation, a bunch of business owners and stuff like that. So we had a conversation the other day, a podcast, and it was good. And the premise of it was, what's your morning routine look like? Like, what's the morning of Caleb? What does he do to get himself, energized and ready to tackle the day? What's that look like?
My morning is absolute chaos. So I have 3 kids under 6. And so that's just setting the stage there. And so, my morning could start anytime after 4 a.m. whenever somebody decides.
He gets up earlier than me.
Not on purpose. I'm not the one waking up at 4 a.m. I am serving at the pleasure of my children. And so when they decide it's morning time, I get up. There's definitely a period of feeling like a lunch lady trying to get breakfast, ready for 3 kids, and everybody needs a pouch and a banana, and I've picked the wrong TV show, and there's at least one person crying, at all times essentially. And this year, for whatever reason, we decided we were going to pick a school that starts an hour earlier than the one last year. And so it's turned into absolute chaos. We're trying to scramble out the door by 7:30. And so there's not a lot of like me getting ready for my day. Like if I have, a shirt and 2 shoes on, I feel like I've done pretty well.
You've accomplished that.
We're there. And so for me, it's like, get the kids to school, and then 8 a.m. it's like, all right, do I have calls? What's going on with emails? And that's when the day really starts for me.
And be lucky if the shoes match, right?
I will admit that I have brought my kids to school on multiple occasions with either one shoe, which that was really embarrassing, or mismatched shoes, which they tend to think is pretty cool. So that's less of a problem. The one shoe I felt pretty bad. I was just like, here's Gray for the day. I apologize. He has one shoe. Here you go.
I got 6 daughters, bro, so I can totally relate. I mean, my kids are all in high school now, so I mean, I'm kind of free of that, but I still got one, the youngest, and she will not walk to school the school is literally 5 blocks away, bro. She will not walk.
It's not gonna happen.
No, so I yeah, man, I relate, and I feel the pains, bro. But embrace it, because within the little bit of time that you have, it's just gonna go. You know what I mean? And just hold on to it. Keep those memories close, bro. It's a great thing, man.
Yeah, my kids are big, 28 and 30.
Yeah.
So
I got a kindergartner now, and that already feels like time's flying.
Yeah, that's fun stuff though. That's when you get to go to like, well, I don't know, you got pumpkin patches there, and like
there's like pumpkin patches. Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to do all the stuff.
That's the fun stuff. That, when it gets into like piano lessons and all that.
I've been to all of that.
I'm gonna push that on to my wife.
Plays, sports, pumpkin patches, activities, birthday parties.
So many activities.
I did it all. Story time.
That never ends. Story time, right?
No.
So yeah, man. What else was? Well, let's hop into it, right? Let's just go. So
let's do it.
What bit you to start the company, or what gave you that entrepreneurial bug?
And what did you do before, like you started Tild, that led to Tild?
Right. Was you always an entrepreneur, or you know what I mean? Or was it I started here and then boom, I wanted a company, or how'd it go?
Yeah, I would say I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Started my first company when I was 19. Nice. That was an ISO, going door to door, selling payments to small business owners. And so for me, that was my start in the payment space, really learning, what direct merchants, wanted. And that was, whatever, a dozen plus years ago. And the landscape looked very different. At that point in time, there wasn't a lot of integrated payments happening within the direct merchant ecosystem. And as we started to scale up that first business, I started to see more and more of these verticalized integrated softwares taking hold within a lot of the merchants that we were going out and talking to. And I just got really curious about what was happening within that space. And so I really took a step back from the ISO business and started doing more angel investing and consulting for vertical software businesses, and really leaning into that side of the payments business. And when I was doing a lot of that consulting work, this was, 7, 8, 9 years ago, before vertical software companies wanting to monetize payments was nearly as mainstream of a concept as it is at this point, today. And so most of the guys that I worked with were using Stripe or Braintree and just passing along the 2.9% and 30 cents onto their merchants. And so, at the time, there weren't a lot of options for those, ISVs, to throw the jargon out there, and these vertical software businesses that wanted to monetize payments. And so, originally we were just recommending gateways and introducing them to ISOs to get their, payment solution set up. But about 5 years ago, I had this idea that ultimately became Tild, that ultimately became Payfac-as-a-service, to offer a better solution for vertical software businesses that wanted, better technology, better support, and a better experience for the merchants on their platform.
Very cool, man. But why payments though? Like at 19, like what was,
why not?
Were you selling something that you didn't like the way PayPal treated you or something, or what was it?
Yeah, I think for me, so when we first got started, it was really just us going out and talking to business owners in the Greenville, South Carolina area to see, would they even consider working with a couple of 19-year-old, college students. And I think for me, the residual income was certainly a really, appealing part of the business. Also, when you read online about the true animosity that merchants have towards a lot of the legacy processors, it felt like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity, to get in to this business. I was also able to control my own schedule. So, when I wasn't in class or, playing sports or whatever, hey, let's go out and try to, earn some money. And so for me, it just ticked a lot of the boxes for what I was looking for at that point, in my life, and really had no idea what that business would turn into. And certainly at that point wasn't intending to pick a career in payments. That wasn't the path that I started down. It's like, hey, how can I earn, some money on the side in college? And that was the start.
Very cool.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people, I've been doing this for 23 years. I think when you speak to when I talk to most people in the business, residual is definitely what attracted them in the beginning, and the flexibility to.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I started my own digital marketing company, almost 15 years ago, but that was the freedom, right? That I had kids, you know what I mean? I didn't want to have to punch the clock and, you know what I mean? And be on someone else's time. That way at a drop of a dime. If I needed to pick up and go get them, I could. So it's definitely one of the main benefits for me of being an entrepreneur. But the payment side, I didn't put the pieces together until I started working with Alan. You know what I mean? And there was so much money that was just being left on the table. So you got any good questions for him?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I find when we talk to a lot of software companies, obviously we come in contact with them over the years, is a lot of the, like you said, you were an investor in those companies, and a lot of the companies are, they're looking for money, and they don't even have any customers yet. And I think that's kind of a challenge. And the other challenge, whenever I talk to other people in the business, is that a lot of these companies, they'll get hooked up on Square, not make any money, Stripe, not make any money, Braintree, not make any money, or maybe they'll go to an ISO, or maybe they're with you, and then they don't think outside of the box that maybe they should partner with any kind of like sales organizations to kind of like to get more sales. And I see like there's like a disconnect with that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would say both in my consulting experience prior to Tild, and then in my experience with Tild, a lot of the software companies that come, to us really underestimate the amount of work that's involved in a successful go-to-market motion to actually sell payments to their underlying merchants. I think a lot of them look at the success stories of like a Toast and a Shopify, where payments is just included. It's an assumed part of the sale. It comes with, the SaaS offering. And certainly, some of our ISVs, operate in that model where you can't sign up for the software without payments. But for a lot of the companies that we work with, or that I worked with in the past, there's a sales motion. You have to convince a small business owner to change their payments infrastructure from whoever they're using, currently to go with you. And on the whole, there's a lot of benefits as a small business owner to using payments that's integrated, with your core software. But a lot of the software companies aren't experts in payments. They don't understand interchange plus pricing. They don't, they don't even know what interchange is, to begin with. But they don't understand a lot of the nuances around payments. I mean, we've got, a fairly sizable customer right now that we were trying to explain what level 2, level 3 payments were, because they were paying way more in interchange, than they needed to. And it's like, this concept is just going completely, over their head.
Every time when you talk about it.
100%. And, we actually have a couple of like fairly sizable like ISOs and reseller organizations that work with some of the ISVs that we partner with. And so we actually have, clients that have realized that they need assistance and have brought in a partner that works with us and with, the software company to help drive their business forward. And a lot of those are the software companies that are seeing the highest attach rates. So the most percentage of their merchants, signing up for payments, and are the happiest with the revenue that they're generating, from working with us. Because it doesn't matter. And I talk about this a lot, but it doesn't matter what your, schedule A or your buy rates look like. If you don't have merchants and processing volume going through your system, it's kind of all for naught. And I think a lot of ISVs really over-index, especially, they've been on one side of the coin with a Stripe or a Braintree making zero money. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, we have to make, 95% of the money. And it's like, great, well, good luck. Go do that on your own and let us know, how it goes. Or you can partner, with folks that understand the space and can help you grow your business, which is ultimately what's going to generate more revenue for you.
Yeah, I think, I've talked to a lot of companies and they're like, oh, we want to get like 100,000 merchants. And I go, you don't really need 100,000 merchants. If you had like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, right? Between your SaaS revenue and payments revenue, and you partnered with somebody and you said, hey,
you're doing all right,
Mr. ISO, hey, can you help us drive some sales? And we'll give you 50% or 60% of the residual. A lot of sales reps won't work for that, but some companies will. And, and then build up to that number. I mean, that's a multi-million-dollar business. And
100%.
I think a lot of them look beyond that. They look at the toast, and I go, yeah, you're looking at toast, but they're not making any money.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand. Like it blows my mind, from a business standpoint, when you see the toast and you see Stripe and you see Square and other companies, and they're just constantly losing money. And then the investors are just pouring money into these companies. I don't know how they're going to turn the corner, or if,
who knows? I mean, a lot of those guys have achieved a lot of scale. They've got a lot of merchants. They got a lot of processing volume. They've got different product lines. They've got a lot of different ways, that they're making money. I think on the individual, software company side of things, I think we often see a disconnect between those aspirations. Hey, we want to be like Toast. We want to own the payments. We want our own BIN. We want to get registered. It's like, hey, you have 10 customers on your platform. Like, you're not ready, to take that step. And, I think especially if you kind of rewind the clock, 3-4 years ago, there were some of our competitors that were advertising that every company should become, a registered payment facilitator. And it's like, tell me more about that argument. Tell me more about this guy doing $1 million a month in payments that's going to profitably, go register as a payment facilitator. And like, the reality is it's nonsense. That's not how the game works. Certainly, if you're doing 40 billion a year in payments, like a Toast and some of those guys, sure, it makes sense at that scale. But there's a lot of folks in the middle that really need, the help and support, that someone like Tilde can provide, that gives them all of the infrastructure and the benefits and the support. And hey, if at some point in the future you grow to that scale that you want to take it in-house, go for it, but you've got to get there, and you got to find a way to bridge that gap, in a way where you can earn revenue all along the way without having to go add a ton of headcount.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody with a gateway. They were telling me, they said, oh yeah, we have 1,000 ISVs on the gateway. And I said, well, how many of them are scaling? They told me none.
Yeah, I believe
I was like, are you kidding me? I go, what are they doing? And he's like, well, they have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 customers, and that's it. And I'm like, well, why don't they partner with somebody to help them make sales? And, I asked them, I said, well, why don't you give me a list of, 5 or 6 of these people? Let me see what I can do.
Let's go scale them up.
Right. Yeah. And try to scale them up, because, when you look at our business, I mean, even Jack Dorsey came out and said he's trying to figure out now how to set up his, I don't know if they're going to do it on the web or they're just going to do it on the sales side, to verticalize a lot of business types at Square. That's their goal anyway. He said in an interview recently.
It's the direction the market's headed. I mean,
to be like, salons, restaurants, whatever it is, auto repair, things like that.
Well, I mean, nowadays, when you look at, from a small business owner's perspective, it really doesn't matter what vertical you're operating in. There's several softwares that are purpose built to help solve the problems, from your industry. And if you're a gym owner, you have different problems than a salon owner, who has different problems than a, used car repair, shop owner. And so if you have a software that solves those particular challenges for your vertical, it's oftentimes adding a lot more value than just payments. And I think that's the piece that sometimes gets lost in this conversation, especially for us payments guys. Like, we're thinking about this from a payments perspective. How do we go get the payments volume? How do we, generate basis points on this? But for the small business owners that are choosing that verticalized software, they're using the scheduling functionality, the payroll functionality, the payments functionality. They're getting help with their taxes. Maybe there's an integrated financing option. There's a lot of value that they're getting from that suite of software, which is also, frankly, part of the reason why there's so much more margin on payments for integrated, verticalized software payments than there are if you're just selling a standalone, PAX device that sits on the counter. You're just not able to justify, the kind of margin that these vertical software players are that are adding a ton of value to these businesses.
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head, bro. Like, especially before when you were mentioning about how, these business owners, they're just, if it solves one of their problems, like they don't even care about how much money it's costing them, the fees involved, and they don't never even look into it. And that's why it goes over their top of their head when you're trying to introduce them to a better product or something like that. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, people aren't interested. Like you talk to a merchant with toast, unless they're being like abused by them. They're not leaving.
Probably like half of
they're
the
paying
merchants.
almost 3% for credit card processing. Huh?
You said like half.
Yeah. But what do you know, one of the things that I see now with a lot of companies who do like have SaaS products is, and we have quite a few of them, they're getting a lot of chargebacks. And I think a lot of that's attributed to the, recurring billing, not sending out notices that, you're going to get billed again this month and giving people a chance to cancel. And also, the advent of things like Rocket Money, and like you log into your credit card and your credit card company says, hey, click here to look at your recurring payments.
Yeah.
And then gives the consumer a chance to opt out of those out of those services. And are you seeing that like from your end of the business too?
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of points there. I think one side of it is certainly from a technology side, it's gotten easier, as a consumer to manage your money and understand, what you're being billed for. But I think the bigger piece of that you were talking about is really on the education side for these software companies. And it goes back to one of the things I was saying earlier, where a lot of these, ISVs and vertical software businesses are not payments experts. They don't necessarily know the best practices around billing and notifications and receipts and invoicing practices. And so I think for those of us that do come from this space, that's a part of our job, is to help educate, our partners so that they can do a better job educating their merchants, and their customers to help prevent some of these, challenges. Like no one wants to deal with a chargeback. It's expensive and painful for everybody involved, in the entire chain. And a lot of the chargebacks, especially in recurring billing scenarios, are preventable just by following basic best practices when you're setting up, your business and your process from the beginning.
Absolutely. Yeah, we just recently had a client come to us, and they have ton of different products with recurring billing. And I was like, you can't just keep billing people. If they don't want it, they don't have to pay for it. And I said, you're way over in chargebacks. I said, we're willing to get you a new account. We're willing to give you an account, but you're going to have to do some, present a chargeback remediation plan to the bank, on how you're going to deal with this. You can't just say all sales are fine. No, we're going to keep billing you. My lesson on that is, I tell them, I go, the gym business is the perfect business. Gyms. Gyms used to have, these like non-cancelable 3-year, 5-year
ironclad contract.
Yeah. And now, tons of them went out of business. They got sued. They had a gazillion chargebacks. And, now everything's like month to month. So, and I told them, I said, you can't do this, because the consumer they're going to go to their bank. You got a lot of pressure on that side of the business, because we have the FTC trying to make rules on that. You have Joe Biden and his junk fee rules, that they're trying to come out with. And
don't get him going on the Dick Durbin and all that.
No, I'm not going to talk about Dick Durbin.
Oh, okay.
We don't like Dick Durbin.
I'm just staying silent. I didn't even hear him. Didn't even hear him.
No,
good choice.
I didn't even mention him. No, but I'm just saying we had, with recurring billing, there's this, and even Visa has new rules, and MasterCard on recurring billing. Yep. And I see like a lot of merchants just don't want to go along with that. And they get themselves in trouble, and then they get, 5% chargebacks. And then they wonder, hey, Stripe shut me off.
Why do I have such a problem? What's going on?
They're not educated. They're not.
Yeah. Well, we try to educate them a lot of times, and they're like, no, why do I have to do that?
Right.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of times they're only wanting to listen after it's actually an issue, for them. And I think, like you're saying, people come, to you trying to solve their problems. They come to us and like, oh, we ended up on the match list. We have no idea, what happened. We were just going about our business. And then all of a sudden one day, we're on the match list. And it's like, I don't think that's the actual series of events, that happened here. Why don't we rewind a little bit and reflect on, the role that you played, in this incident? But it's funny, the perspective, that some of these guys come to are like, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I have no idea what happened.
I have a guy now, he's going down the rabbit hole with a lawyer trying to get him off the match list. I told him, I said, there's no way you're getting off the match list. You violated the rules, right? It's
difficult.
Yeah, he has some adult products on his website, and some of the pictures are showing things you shouldn't be showing. So I said, you have two choices: A, register, because there's a lot of businesses that have to register, vape businesses, cigar businesses, adult businesses, any, medical type businesses. Some of them have to register, right? So I said, or you just register and pay the $1,000 fee at the door. And then you can just leave all your pictures on your website. But it's next to, and he got put on by PayPal. And I said, you're never going to get off. PayPal's never getting you off the mat. PayPal, I think the hardest ones to get removed is probably PayPal and Square and Stripe. You're just not going to get anywhere with them.
You're just fighting going up against a brick wall. We did have one instance recently where we were actually able to help get somebody off the match list, but that was a unique case where it was an identity fraud issue. Right. So their identity was stolen, and then the fraudster, got them onto the match list. And so in that particular case, they actually hadn't really done anything wrong. It was one of the first times where I was like, okay, I actually feel like you didn't do anything wrong, in this particular, instance. Like, all right, you got all the police reports. Let's work with you, and let's go, see if we can, help resolve the situation. But most of the time, yeah, you're just talking to a wall.
In some cases, banks will give an exception, if you can show them that, wasn't your fault. Identity theft. I've seen dozens of those over the years.
A friend of mine, he was in trouble. He owned a CBD business, and we got him hooked up, and
he was on the match list.
He's on the match list, and now he got himself into a whole scam thing, and now his whole business is basically ruined. It's done. It just sucked. That sucked.
It did suck. He had a nice.
He's got a great business.
Got a great business, but yeah, because banks will look at it and go, "Hey, the guy was processing for 3 years on the processor, and now all of a sudden you're going to put him on the match list, right?
Cut his head off."
We sent it to the bank. They were like, "Oh, the guy processed for 3 years. He didn't do anything. All the statements were clean." So they did an exception.
Make an exception.
Yeah. So. You can get around. We've gotten around that several times with, the bank. Some banks can be very forgiving, but not for, and especially like during COVID, we saw tons of people on match. Oh, they didn't pay the fees. There was a ton of chargebacks. We had a couple of hotels on match.
Well, yeah. COVID, I feel like, was just a wild time for all of us. Especially in the payment space. It's like, what once were these incredibly stable, businesses and industries, overnight, all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we can't touch that. This is way too much risk.
Yeah. We had a hotel, and the guy had like $100,000 in chargebacks. So his lawyer is trying to get him off the match list. I said, let's get on the telephone. We called up the processor and got the guy, he paid the money, and they let the guy get a merchant account.
Yeah, right around the start of COVID, I was starting the process to go acquire credit card processing portfolios. So I thought, hey, this is gonna be this great opportunity. I've got all this financing. Let's go buy, these residual streams. Had LOIs out on multiple portfolios, and then all of a sudden, half these businesses are shutting down. And it just thankfully we hadn't pulled the trigger on any of those. But I mean, just crazy time.
Real quick, where did we met you at SEAA? But did we see you again at another conference?
I'm at most of the conferences, and so I feel like it's very possible.
He keeps saying that we only met you one time, and I feel like we definitely bumped into each other more than that one occasion.
Let's assume it probably happened.
I'm assuming that it probably happened.
Yeah, well, I'll be at SCAA again.
I'll be there as well. I think I'm on a panel this year for SCAA.
Okay, cool. Nice.
So before we wrap it up, man, is there anything, looking into the future that's happening for Tilled that you want to spill the beans on, or, just plug yourself, shameless promo for the last self promo. It's a shameless self promo at the end of the show here for yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think anybody that has a neon sign in their background is probably willing to give a shameless, promo from time to time. It's just I don't know if there's statistical evidence to back that up, but I'd go out on a limb and say probably more likely than not. I think for us here at Tilled, we've got two core, parts of our business today. We've got the direct, ISV opportunities. So if there's ISVs or vertical software companies that need a better partner, need a better solution, I'd love to talk to them. But we also work with tons of ISOs, agents, and payments consultants that want to refer ISV opportunities to Tilled. So I think today we've got like 170 plus ISOs that refer, deals to us. And so it's a huge, growing part of our business. But when you think about that kind of forward looking, where are we headed? Over the course of this past year, we've had some really interesting opportunities start to pop up with some of the larger strategics in the payment space that have come to us wanting to white label our entire technology stack. And so think folks like card brands, acquirers, super ISOs that are coming to us and saying, hey, we really want to be more active in this vertical software ecosystem, but we don't have the technology to really effectively compete, in this category. And I think for us, my favorite stat about Tilled is that our average integration for a software partner is only 9 days. And so if you really want to get up and running quickly and have, that rapid integration, that great technology experience, but also generate revenue on your payments, that's what we do here at Tilled. So, if you want to follow along on the journey, you can follow Tilled on LinkedIn or me, Caleb Avery, on LinkedIn. But appreciate you guys having me on the show.
Absolutely, man.
All right,
you got anything you want to ask?
No, it's great having you on the show, and nice seeing you again. See you in New Orleans.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you for stopping by, man. It's 2024 has been it's been a little difficult to getting people committed to being on the show, but I see you got your whole setup, so it looks nice, man. And congratulations on all the achievements. Yeah. And I've seen, from just seeing you guys at SEA and the other time that we ran into each other, maybe it was in a fourth dimension or whatever. But yeah, man, it's been great talking to you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. With the podcast room, I'm ready at a moment's notice to hop on a podcast. So
you made a special podcast room in your office?
I did. So I got it ready to go.
It's nice. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, it looks great.
I like this. I like the soundproofing. We need, we got the honeycomb. As the podcast grows, I feel like we should grow the honeycomb almost like the like a beehive or something.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the opportunity. You need that, and you need that plant.
The plant.
You'll be good to go.
Yes.
All right. So,
all right, Caleb, man. Well, good luck for the 2024, man. We'll see you at SCAA down in New Orleans.
Yep. Peace out. Carpe diem. And the future of payments looks bright for everybody.